Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to continue on our series, our Prepper Dog series, and today we're going to talk about transitioning your puppy from dry food, dry kibble, to a raw-based diet. So this is the Kirkland signature salmon recipe. So this is the baseline of what a lot of people are starting off of. So if you have a puppy, you just got a lot of times you're probably on your some type of dry food. So again, this is the Kirkland signature salmon recipe. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of things to this to get it ready for our dog. And we're going to show you how we slowly transition to a raw diet. Now, a lot of people just like to go cold turkey, and then their dog gets stomach problems or stomach issues, and they wonder why that happened, right? They act totally confused as to why their dog's stomach and their system is just not handling very well, really bad diarrhea, sickness, things like that. So we want to keep that from happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a few things to this dry food to help build the dog's gut microbiome and also help them to do a good transition from, again, a dry-based food like this, dry-based nugget, to a more robust raw food diet. Starting a puppy off on a raw food diet, I think is a great idea. I'm all about it if you have the resources and the knowledge to appropriately make a good raw food diet. I'm all about it. Now, we have to go about this smartly, okay? And so one of the first things that I start to do is add a milk replacer to their food. So this food's gonna get moistened down, which most people do anyway, but we're gonna add a milk replacer. This is a multi-species milk replacer. And what's really good about this, it has trace vitamins and nutrients that they need, important fats, omega-3s, omega-6s, DHAs, and also it has great probiotics. So this is going to allow us to ensure that their gut microbiome, even at a young age, is getting everything it needs to be very robust. So as you can see, I took a heaping scoop and I put it in there, and all I'm gonna do is shake it like this so it gets all shaken in there. And just like that, you have a kibble that's now almost looks like it's powder coated. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna add I use hot water. I put some hot water from a hot shot directly into here. I fill it all the way up, and I just let it sit and moist and collect. And I do this for about a week or so. I'd say a week, 2 weeks, without doing anything else. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a robust gut flora. And with puppies, they don't have a gut flora. That doesn't exist. They're literally weeks old. So by adding a milk replacer with a probiotic, you're going to allow that gut microbiome to be very resilient, and it's going to allow you to feed them more diverse foods. And this is even good if you're wanting to transition from one dry food to another. A lot of people say that you need to do a small gradual change, which is good and beneficial, but I also highly recommend using something with a probiotic. Because again, we have to be honest with what we're saying. All we're saying is when we're trying to transition from one food to another is that we want their gut flora, we want that gut microbiome to be able to easily transition from one to another. That's why they tell you to slowly transition, because that's all they're trying to do. They're trying to get that gut microbiome ready. And so with doing something like this, we are training the gut microbiome to be ready and to be resilient. And so that's why I think this is just huge. So for about a week or two, feed them nothing but the kibble with the milk replacer in it. Now for the next step. Our puppies are 8 weeks old, and they've been on raw eggs for about, I'd say, a week and a half now. Now you transition any way you feel like you need to transition, and most people are getting their puppies at 8 weeks. But again, once they've had the dry kibble with the probiotic milk replacer, once they've had that formula, once they started to build their gut microbiome, I like to include 2 raw eggs. You can start with 1. I'm using 2 because we're feeding 4 Mastiff puppies at the moment. So again, a couple raw eggs we're gonna put on top of the kibble that already has the milk replacer formula in it. And the reason why we like to use eggs is because we have a lot of eggs here in the homestead. We have ducks, we have chickens. So this allows us to use a resource, an abundant resource that's fully regenerative that we have lots of here. So we have this renewable food source that we have. So it's beneficial for us to early on get those dogs acclimated to the food and resources that are always available here on the homestead. And you can see from that dark, rich color that these are homestead eggs. So I think they look great. Beautiful. So all we're gonna do is we're just gonna, again, kind of do the shake method and just mix everything in. And just like that, we got that egg mixed in there pretty well. So now all we're gonna do is add some hot water to it. So now we take our hot water and we just very gently pour it in there. And then once it gets to the brim there, we're just gonna let it soak for a little bit. And again, the reason why we use the hot water is we don't want to shock their system. So by giving it just a little bit of a cooking temperature on those raw eggs there, that's going to allow it to be easier for the dog to digest, especially the first time, right? It is so important, and you're going to hear me constantly say this because I really want it to stick. It's so important that we grow that gut microbiome. That is the most important thing for us to do. This is why people fail all sorts of diets, especially vegan diets, because people's gut microbiomes is not ready for the food that they're about to be ingesting. It's super important. So by adding a little bit of hot water, we cook that egg down just enough to where these dogs it's gonna be beneficial to their system. Because you have to remember, if you've never fed your dog, especially a puppy, a raw egg or an egg before, it's gonna be the first time their system's ever seeing it. So you want to set them up for success. So once your puppies are used to the dry kibble, the raw eggs, and the probiotic, it's time to now incorporate a full raw meal in with their dry kibble. Because again, the whole purpose of this evolution is to get your dog's gut microbiome 100% ready and acclimated for a raw food diet. And we're going to do this incrementally. And the purpose of that, again, is to make sure that there's no surprises. That gut microbiome is 100% ready to go. So I'm going to show you the final transition meal that we're going to feed our puppies in order to get them ready for a completely raw food diet. Let's take a look. So we have our base, which is going to be the dry kibble. Then we have some pasture-raised eggs here. As you can see, we have 3 duck eggs and 4 chicken eggs. We have some chicken fat right there. We have some rabbit organ meat. And then we have some pork. That's Elvis, our pig that we grew from last year. And then to top it off, we're going to include our probiotic formula. So let's get started. So there you go. As you can see, we got the pork, we got Elvis there, we got the eggs, got the fat, got the organ meat right here. See, there's a kidney, it's a heart, lungs. So it's all in there. So now all we're gonna do is add our scoop of probiotic formula. Just like that, we added 1 large scoop of formula. We're just gonna mix it around here a little bit. We have it all mixed up just like that. The only thing we have left to do is add the hot water. So like I said in this video and other videos in the past, the hot water is great because it's not going to cook the food, but it's going to do just a quick sterilization for any bad bacteria or viruses that may be in there. Again, I'm not worried, but it's going to do a quick shock on the meat, and it's going to allow them to have something warm to eat because it is cold outside. And then on top of that, the water helps aid in the digestion as well. Because remember, these puppies are very young. They don't have a gut microbiome, so we want to make sure we do everything to benefit their success. And just like that, just gonna add a little bit of hot water. Let it sit for about a minute, minute and a half, and then we're gonna give it to them. Yeah, the cats already know what time it is. There you go. There you go. There you go. You had yours already. You guys made a mess. You can see they tore up an egg carton. I don't know how you found an egg carton, but tore it up. All right, so we have our food here. Come here, guys. There you go. And it's game on. And it's important that you work on food aggression young so they don't have any food aggression. You should be able to put your hands in there without fearing that they're going to growl or bite or anything like that. Food aggression is not tolerated, especially when it comes to Mastiff. I mean, these dogs are going to be upwards of 200 pounds, so you need to teach them when they're young that food aggression is not going to be tolerated, and we've had no issues. We've been hands-on with them from the beginning, and so, you know, it's really good and it's really awesome to be able to see this process and be a part of this process from the beginning. So again, this is the last meal step in the transition to a completely raw food diet. Was that good? It's all over your nose. Yes, was that good? In just a few minutes, you have an empty bowl. Welcome back, everybody. So it's been 12 weeks. Our puppies are 12 weeks, and today they are going to get their first all fully raw meal diet. It's going to be exciting. Stay tuned. So we have an exciting meal here. So you can see we have some pork. There's Elvis, and then right here you can see we have a liver, rabbit, organ meats. You see you have a lung there, and then we have some turkey fat, high quality stuff from last year. Great stuff, great for their health, especially brain function. Got some great stuff there. And then we have some eggs from our coop. We have 2 duck eggs right there, 4 chicken eggs. We're gonna combine everything. So this is what our dogs eat. This is what our puppies eat. So we have a pig that we butchered last year, coon, and then we have some raw eggs. We have 2 duck eggs that come from our Pekin/Khaki Campbell crosses that we grow, and then we have our normal Sussex chickens that we raise here in the homestead. We have heritage breed turkey fat right here from our last Thanksgiving dinner, and then we have our New Zealand blue rabbit organ meat in here as well. So our dogs eat nothing but the best that we grow here on our homestead. So what we're going to do now is, since we have 1/4 of a bag of probiotic left, we're going to go ahead and use our milk replacer probiotic. We're going to use this basically until we run out, and then we're just going to continue on just with our normal raw food diet. But again, at this point, you don't need it, but if you have it, no point in letting it go to waste. So there we go. We got a heaping scoop in there, and then we're just going to mix it all up. Now that it's all mixed up, we're going to add a little bit of hot water just because it's cold outside. Just like that. Now it's feeding time. I don't know if you can hear them, but they smelt the food and they're whining and complaining. They know when it's feeding time. You guys ready? They're like, yeah, let us out of here. You guys ready? All right. There you go. Yeah, they love it. There you have it. It's as simple as that. Is that good? As simple as that. They make quick work of this. Well, there you have it. That's how you transition from normal dry kibble to an all raw. Well, you've seen from start to finish, from transitioning from completely dry kibble to a fully raw food diet, and we did it in 12 weeks. So let's do an overall review real quick. Good copy. So it's important that we realize the key fundamental truths and contentions that we're trying to show you here, and that is, number 1, gut microbiome is hugely important. Gut flora means everything, and not just for puppies, but for adult dogs as well. You know, when you're looking at puppies, our puppies, mom, Kova, she eats raw food diet. So she's naturally going to have her milk that she's giving her dogs are naturally going to set the dogs up better for a raw food diet because mom's eating a raw food diet. Okay. You will see a huge difference. If you feed your dog something while she's nursing and it's totally different than what she's normally, what the babies are used to her eating, they're going to have diarrhea. They're going to have problems because that milk is going to be directly correlated with what mom's eating. And so since Kova has been on a raw food diet, that transition for our puppies is even easier. But even with that being said, we still went through the process, okay? We still made sure that their gut microbiome and their gut flora was ready. And we did that slowly over the course of weeks. They started eating dry food at around 4 weeks old. So from 4 to 12 weeks, right? Pretty much for 8 weeks, we've been slowly transitioning them to an all raw food diet. And so that's really important. And that's really important to note because when we're looking at this logically, we have to realize that we need to set them up for success. They've been alive for a few weeks. They do not have a gut microbiome. They do not have a gut flora. They are very, their environment is going to play a huge factor and role. They're going to be
very sensitive to small changes. So it's important that we do that to the best of our ability. And even for large dogs, this works for adult dogs as well. Because even adult dogs, if you have a 3-year-old dog, 4-year-old dog, and the only thing they've had is a, fucking burnt nugget that they got at the grocery store that's in a package, plastic bag, and the only outdoor, experiences they have are either in their backyard or in a controlled dog park environment, I'm sorry, they don't have a robust gut microbiome. They don't have a robust gut flora. That's why people tell you to transition slowly, especially when it comes to when you're transitioning dry food, incorporate a little bit at a time. It's because they know your dog has no gut flora. They know your dog has no gut microbiome, and that's the only way to do it. For us, again, we used a milk replacer with probiotic because we wanted to make sure that the transition was not only good, but we wanted to ensure early on that our puppy's gut microbiome was well beyond them in years. And that's super important, especially from a preparedness standpoint, when we're talking about possibly being in a situation where we can't depend on infrastructure. Them having that gut microbiome is going to be huge, because even if they are introduced to something inadvertently or purposefully that they're not used to and their gut microbiome isn't used to, their gut flora and their probiotics and their system is going to be so ready and so prepared that they're going to be able to handle it with relative ease. That's why it's so important to build that gut microbiome up. And so I highly encourage you guys, take it slow. Again, 12 weeks, they'll be here before you know it, and they're completely on a raw food diet. They're completely ready to go. And again, if we need to feed them dry food, we can transition to a dry food, no problem. If we need to add and incorporate other diversity into their diet, great. But you don't want to do it too fast. Especially if you're not using a probiotic, you're going to want to go even slower than we did, much slower, because you want to ensure that their system is resilient and built up to it. So keep that in mind. Another thing to think about, if your dog is still having issues, even though you're transitioning super, super slowly, it could be, and especially we're seeing this with designer dogs, currently this is something that's pretty common. A lot of these designer dogs and a lot of dogs, just because of the way the pet food diet has been built up, they might have protein allergies. I'm surprised how many dogs have protein allergies to beef and chicken. There's a lot of dogs that have protein allergies to beef and chicken, and that has to do with the fact that bad breeding practices and then bad pet food practices in the industry. So if your dog is having issues and you're doing everything in your power to transition slowly, you might want to take a look at that. Your dog may have a protein allergy, and again, it's upsetting, but again, it just means that you're going to have to do a little bit more on your end to ensure that they are getting the proteins and the foods that are not going to interfere with their system because of said allergy. Last thing I want to touch on real quick is the hot water. Now, again, I like using hot water. It does not cook the food, okay? It's just going to do a quick sterilization on it. Again, I do it mainly because it's cold outside and it gives them something warm to eat, and it does aid, just even if it's not hot water, but you're adding warm water, you're just adding water in general, that's going to aid in digestion, okay? So I always like to add water to it regardless, because again, it aids in digestion, and especially when it's cold outside, it gives them something to warm to eat, and it encourages them to eat. So that's super important. But especially for those of you guys that don't know where your food comes from, guys and gals, if you're getting it from a hunter or a friend that you trust, great. But if you're buying it at a grocery store or you're unsure of the source, I would absolutely do a sterilization every single time. It's super important because you don't know what kind of viruses or bacteria and stuff that's going on, especially from the grocery stores. Grocery store meat is so filled with bacteria, so filled with fungi, so filled with viruses. Those systems are just super dirty. I don't care what anybody says. Do the math on it. Do the research on it. It's horrible. And so it's important to make sure your dog's safety is first and foremost. Again, you're never going to see me go to the grocery store, buy a chicken leg, and give that to my dog raw. There's just absolutely no way I would do it. Now, I have plucked, I have harvested a chicken here, plucked it, and given the organ meat straight from the animal to my dogs with no worries. Yeah, no problem with that. My cats, you see, they eat straight. I have no issues. I have no worries. But again, if you're unsure of the source, again, adding that hot water will, again, from your hot shot or whatever, will do a quick sterilization on that meat. It's not going to cook it, but it's going to do a quick sterilization on it. and it's going to give your dog something warm to eat, and it's going to help aid in digestion. So that's just a little tip that I picked up along the way. Overall, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Remember, it's okay to slow things down, okay? And for those of you that are wanting to do a raw food diet, but you're not sure where to start, you're not sure about the nutrient requirements, that's great. We didn't go over that in this video, but I have 2 videos on that I will link in the description box below for you to look at. They're great free resources. Now, there's 1 of 2 ways you can do it. You can take a look at my video and the free and other free literature that's out there on the internet, and you can come up with your own meal plan for free, or you can pay somebody a ridiculous amount of money for them to lecture you on what you should feed your dog. I will let you make that choice, but I will put those videos in the description box below. They're going to come with all the literature. They're going to come with all the science, with all the math, with all the facts, and they'll also include resources to food calculators where you can do this all from inside your home. Again, most of you guys out there, if you guys have raised brilliant, strong children, if you can do that and you can be entrusted to do that and feed them and make sure that they are happy and healthy, you can absolutely do it for a dog as well. Let's not overthink this. So I will leave those resources in the description box below for you to take a look at. I'm looking forward to interacting with you guys. And as always, guys, long live the Republic.